Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. Brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners, it's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. Learn more and subscribe today at eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcast. And now, here's your host, Frank LaRosa.
Hey everybody, welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. I'm your host, Frank LaRosa, and once again and always joined by my lovely co-host, Stacey Frank, Executive Vice President of Sales at Elite Consulting Partners.
Happy to be back, as always.
I almost said Vanna White, but this
Right. We love fortune.
You're going to be as popular as Vanna White one day.
We love fortune.
We're dating ourselves. Anyway, so thanks for joining the show. For those that don't know who I am or who Stacey is, I'm the founder of Elite Consulting Partners. We are the largest third-party recruiting and consulting firm in the industry. We move hundreds and hundreds of advisors every single year, and billions and billions of dollars. And we help them move billions of dollars in client assets every single year. So we are nationally a national firm. We have north of almost 70 employees, and so we continue to grow. So thanks for joining us. Our podcast really is about enlightening people, educating our listeners on what's going on out there, what they should be thinking about, what they should be doing, not doing, all of those things, sort of behind the curtains, as if we were just hanging out at a restaurant and talking shop. And so
Never scripted.
Never scripted.
We have ideas, but...
Yeah, we have ideas. We just basically talk about what's been going on the week before or the week that we're in, and conversations we're having, actual conversations we're having with advisors and firms, and things that I've learned from my 30 years of experience, which I think makes us unique, is that there's only a handful of people in our space. I can count them on one hand that actually have the type of background that I have, at least in 30 years in the business, an advisor, complex director, manager, et cetera, et cetera. And so we think this is good. So today we're going to talk about the year in review.
Year in review.
Right? And we're not going to get into the weeds, but our marketing folks did some fancy algorithmic testing, analysis on metrics, and came up with our top 5 most listened to, basically, I'll just boil it down to the most listened to podcasts of the year. And so we thought we would just go through those and really talk about why they were so impactful and why they will continue to be impactful. And then we're going to get into, this will be a little bit longer show than we normally do, so buckle up. But then we're going to get into some things, really the top 5 trends that I see coming in the next year or years to come, which some of them may shock you. So you want to definitely keep listening, and because I know one of them for sure will surprise some people. But I'm betting that I'm right. So anyway,
take it away.
So here we go. So the number 1 most listened to podcast was episode 162. So if you want to go and check that out. And by the way, if you're listening to us on iTunes, we also have our YouTube channel, which is continuing to grow. We have a lot of subscribers, and so you want to check us out there, and you can see our cool little studio and our sign and all sorts of stuff. And so anyway, so our number 162 was a conversation that we had about Dan Sullivan, who runs a company called Strategic Coach, which is basically teaching you how to be an entrepreneur, teaching you how to be a better leader. And we went over basically the top 10 habits that he thinks every entrepreneur should have. And so, although we say we don't have any notes, we do keep some notes on occasion. And so what I wanted to do is really just, I want to run through them real fast. Number 1 was focus on your unique ability, right?
Yeah, your natural talent.
Your natural talent, right? Although I guess you're not really making money at pickleball. You are a pickleball champion.
The natural talent is competition, right? Is being forthcoming and proactive.
But your natural talent is being a good listener, and yes. I think that's what makes you a good consultant to advisors that are looking to make a move, because you're really good at listening to them.
Yeah, it's not just hearing and listening. It's listening to understand, and maybe having empathy and reiterating what our clients, our advisors are saying to us.
Right.
That's real active listening.
Right. But so, and what Dan refers to is focusing on your unique ability. If you're trying to grow your business, the best thing to do is focus on what you do really well, and then essentially surround yourself with people that do other things really well, versus what I see a lot of times in financial services with financial advisors and type A personalities. I may have been one of those people, maybe. A little bit of a control freak. Is you need to let go and let other people do the things that they do really well, do them well, right? So that's what he's talking about with focusing on your unique ability. Setting ambitious goals. Some other companies refer to it big, hairy, audacious goals. So setting huge goals, because if you don't have huge goals, you're not really going to push yourself to achieve greater things. And we talk to advisors all the time, and one of the questions that I ask them is, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because I really want to understand, like, what are their long-term goals? And I'm shocked when I get responses, one, either they don't know, or their goal really isn't really a stretch. It's really not really working all that hard at it,
short
right?
Term. It's a goal for maybe 3 weeks or 6 months from now. That's not really a stretch goal. That's just something that you want to achieve tomorrow.
Right.
But that doesn't really generate the right behaviors long term.
Right, exactly. So he has a book called 10X is Easier Than 2X. And what that really means is if you have a much, much bigger goal, so you want to 10X your revenue today, then what are the things that are going to allow you to 10X your revenue? And by focusing on those things have to be more impactful. And it gets your head out of the weeds of the smaller things, the noise that isn't going to really get you to the 10X. It might get you to 2X, and that's the point. So if you focus on the 2X, then you're going to be into the minutia. So when you're thinking about your huge goals, and then you wake up in the morning, and what are your tasks? Are those tasks big enough to impact your 10X goal? Right,
and it's minimizing distractions and making sure that you're focusing on those revenue-generating, seemingly client-facing tasks versus seemingly being busy.
Right. So if you're an advisor and you worry about
just being busy,
you worry about clients getting checks, or you worry about the things that you can't control at a firm when they change a certain type of policy, that's the in the weeds stuff that's a 2X thinker, right? 10X thinker is I can't control those things. So I'm only going to focus on the things that I control, and that is how do I get in front of more clients with more money and get more referrals? Because that's what's going to get you to 10X, not 2X. That's the difference in the thinking. Worry about what you can control and don't worry about what you can't control. And things that you want to take action on should only lead to your 10X thinking. That's his whole point. Number 3 was embrace the gap and the gain. This is really just a way of thinking. And it really just boils down to don't think about what you have not accomplished, right? Think about what you've accomplished from where you came from. That's really all this is about. There's a book on it called The Gap and the Gain. But after about the first chapter and a half, you get the principle. And the principle really is if you think about where you were, let's just say 5 years ago, maybe you were $1 million producer 5 years ago, and now you're a $2 million producer. But you're frustrated because you're not a $4 million producer. The gap in the gain, so is if you're worrying about why you're not a $4 million producer, you're focused on the gap, right? And that distracts you. What you should be doing is focusing on the gain. You went from $1 million to $2 million, right? So you've doubled your company revenue in that period of time. It's just a mindset thing. That's really basically appreciating where you are from where you've come from, not what you don't have.
That's why they say the rear view mirror is smaller than
exactly.
Than
there's a reason why the rear view mirror
say it all the time.
Is much smaller than the front, right? So that's really what that is. Plan time off first. Now this is, I'll be honest with you, this is one that I struggle with.
Here comes the controversy.
Here's the controversy, which we talk about when I go to the strategic coach meetings. And talking about plan time off so that as a leader and as an entrepreneur, you can decompress a little bit, right? And so I try to do this, which is basically planning time off means you take time off away from your business where you don't do anything that's related to the business. You don't read books, you don't listen to podcasts about it, you don't think about it, nothing. And that's just really to just recover. You try to do that, but it's something you should be thinking about. And all of these things, the reason why this is a timely topic is because as we head into the end of the year, into the new year, you should all be thinking about the next year and game filming yourself, right? I coach football, and we spend a lot of time game filming because the tape doesn't lie. And you should be thinking about what you did well in 2024 and what you didn't do well in 2024, both on the business side and the personal side.
And I think you can't achieve that. Like, we every day of ours is busy. We go back to back with meetings, and same with our advisor clients. You can't possibly have that reflection time or that think time, as I call it. I need think time. You can't possibly do that when you're in your day-to-day and your routine. So it has to be planned. So it's not time off away from not thinking about your business. It's just being able to reflect on it in a different way. It's so critical.
Right. So one of the things that I've actually done, and I've taken a bit of, and maybe we'll do another podcast on this, because I've taken a bit of different coaching programs and leadership programs, and I sort of mold them together. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the perfect combination. I'm still working on it. But anyway, so Alex Hormozi is another person I listen to. He talks about maker time and worker time, and we didn't cover this in the podcast. This is new. Maker time and worker time. Worker time is like you're having your meetings and you're dealing with your management team, you're dealing with compliance, and those are things that aren't moving the ball forward of your organization. Maker time is when you're focused on those one or two key initiatives, rocks, quarterly goals that move the ball forward for your organization. And so what he does is he scheduled them. So I've taken a combination of those things where I actually schedule time off, and I actually, throughout the course of my week, I schedule and block time out for maker time and worker time, where my assistant knows that during certain periods of time, during the course of a day or the week, she doesn't book anything, because there's time that you need and I need as a leader to think about the company, right, and where we're going, and think about my employees and what they need from us, and then really just immerse myself in that thought process. Because
it's accountability.
Right.
You can't achieve any of those goals or objectives or rocks, as we call it, if you don't take time to hold yourself accountable.
Right.
And I think we find that a lot of people aren't really doing that. They think they are, but they're not setting time specifically to do that because they're getting caught up in all the busyness, all the minutiae.
Yeah, you get caught up in the busyness, and it's easy to go, I'll work on that
Very
right now,
easy.
and then I'll work on that right now.
Right.
Well, the other thing that I've learned, which is really interesting, is I've learned how to control my schedule better, and that I block out certain days where I have client meetings back to back to back, and then business meetings back to back to back. Because what I found is that I have to shift my brain from business meeting to talk about the company, and then a client meeting where I'll call it a sales versus operational type of meeting, and I'm having to shift my brain.
Yeah.
And it's
a different mindset.
It's a different
totally
mindset,
different.
and it's tiring. And so I've been able to be more effective by time blocking the use of my brain capacity, right? I know it sounds funny, but if you just think about that and think about your day and how you spend your day, right? And if you have a day where you're putting out fires all day long, but then in the middle of trying to put out a fire, you have to have a client meeting. You're not 100% there for that client meeting, right? You're just not.
Yeah, your brain taps into, I break it up into consulting and planning.
Right.
You can't be in planning mode and then effectively consult with a client what's most important to them and help them, figure out their dreams, goals, and visions.
Right.
It's planning mindset and then it's consulting mindset, two totally different, I think, parts of the brain. I have it divided up too. It really can be.
Yeah. So look, number 5 is he talks about operate on a quarterly rhythm, and it's the same type of thing. Mm-hmm. And so you're operating on a rhythm. You have to find what that rhythm and cadence is with for your day and for your company. Quarterly rhythm simply means that you might have a 1-year goal or a 5-year goal, but everything should be boiled down to what are you going to get accomplished this quarter that translates into achieving your year-end goals, right? Your 1 year goals or your 3 or your 5 year goals. So those are the quarterly rocks, as they're called. They're called rocks because those are the big things that you should be focusing on. And it should be, for each individual person, 4 or 5 different things that are directly related to driving your initiatives. I'm not going to say revenue because not all rocks have to be tied to revenue. It could be something else. It could be educational.
It's actions
it could
versus
be hiring
results.
people, right?
You're driving your behaviors.
You're driving actions versus a result, right? So revenue is a result of an action. So the quarterly rock should be what's something that is going to drive revenue that will lead to that will lead to revenue, right? So it could be seminars, could be podcasts, could be building a referral model, or getting 10 referrals because last quarter you only got 5 referrals, right? So that's how you. But in order to have a quarterly, you do a quarterly rhythm, so that at the end of each quarter you're going to be held accountable by yourself and your team on did you accomplish those goals or not.
And there has to be very, very specific things, goals, actions, behaviors, as we call them, that ties to that quarterly rock, or it just doesn't happen. It's an accountability exercise.
Right.
Again.
So, and then the sixth one, which again goes right into that, is collaborate strategically, and that means that you and your team, and it could be again if it's you and just one person, that's still a team, right? You just have to break down what each of your strengths are, and then those rocks and your goals should be tied to those strengths, and the combination and the addition of each of your strengths together are what are going to help you accomplish those goals. So number 7 is document and celebrate wins. And this is an interesting one because some of us type A's, we tend to not do that.
I think we've gotten considerably better at it over the years.
Yes.
Where we were just going 100 million miles an hour, and you forget to pause and celebrate the small wins or the small successes of yourself and of others. Oh, and the big ones, of course. We like the big ones, but sometimes you have to focus on the small ones to get to the big ones.
Right.
But it's about rewarding each other. Congratulations, or some kind of I don't know, whether it's monetary or we do events, some kind of external and internal rewards.
Yeah, we try to make it fun. We try to make, we just try to make it rewarding. Every business that is out there gets into a grind, right? And you need to celebrate your wins because you have to understand. And I'll give you an example of one. We had somebody here that closed a very large deal with helped a big advisor move firms. He made a lot of money. And I'm super happy for this one of our consultants here. And I knew he wasn't going to enjoy the win. I mean, I just know this individual, right? And I knew it. And I ended up basically paying for him and his wife to go on a trip because I knew he wouldn't do it. I said, hey, listen, you take some of that money, do this, and this. And at a minimum, you need to celebrate with your wife. Take her away, even for a long weekend, just your spouse, just significant other, whoever. I'm saying in his situation, his wife, right? They've been through a lot of different things, and I'm super happy for him. And I knew he wouldn't do it. And so I basically made him because I bought the trip for him, right? And so I forced him to go do that because I wanted him to connect all the hard work and struggle and the win with a reward. Not just, well, I got the win, which helped me minimize my struggle. That's looking at it negatively. I wanted him to experience the positive side of it, right? I talked to Kevin O'Leary, so everyone knows Kevin O'Leary. He was at an event that I was at with a group that I follow, and he was asked a question about this sort of topic. And he said every time he closes a big deal, he buys something special for himself. So if, like on the show,
something momentous, something that signifies that.
So on Shark Tank, he wears this watch. Okay. So I think it's I forget what brand it is, but it has a red band. It's one of a kind, and he that was his first huge deal. I think he said it was something like $50 million or something like that. He had that watch made. It's one of one. And so I sort of have taken some of that to heart, but everyone else should too. So let's keep going. Avoid the drift. Number 8.
That's a big one.
Avoid the drift. So
yeah. Well, that's a big one
you have
because
some notes on that one.
Well, it's so important because to do the work that we do successfully for our clients or for your clients, it requires always being on, coming to the plate with your A game. And it's easy over time to, look, we're salespeople, we're consultants, to get bored or it becomes monotonous. But those are the behaviors that keep you successful. So it's easy for people to drift away from the day-to-day, from the short-term goals and long-term goals. So I think we do a pretty good job of it, trying to reel everybody in and avoid the drift, as we're talking about here, by collaborating, by having events, meetings, sharing ideas, talking about best practices, remotivating, maybe disciplining. There's consequences if we don't do these things. But whatever it is in your practice or your staff or your business partners, there always has to be some sense of, people are going to drift because it's human nature.
Yeah.
But what are you doing as a business owner or as a manager to reel your people in? Because if they drift too far, sometimes it's hard to get back into the routine.
Yeah, sometimes
and enjoy it again.
Right, and sometimes the drift comes from being successful.
Right.
That's the.
I did it.
That's the biggest risk. Like, I
got this.
I closed that business. I did that. I'm making a lot of money this year. Right. I'm only gonna take off a few days, or I'm only gonna stop doing what worked for a few days. Right. And then a few days turns into 4 or 5 days, which turns into a week or two, which turns into a month or two. And all of a sudden, you pick your head up one day, and your pipeline's dissipated, and you're struggling again.
Yeah, your clients forget about you.
Right. But I look at drift. So for me, sometimes I pay attention to my drift, and that is when I stop listening to podcasts, when I stop reading books, my mind starts to drift, and I lose focus on the purpose, not the purpose of what we're doing, but I lose focus on what I'm set out to do, and then my energy starts to dissipate a little bit because I almost lost that fuel that I needed. Right, the edge.
You have to find joy in the little things. You have to find joy in the small wins, and for everybody that's different. So it's very easy, again, for boredom and monotony and routine to sink in. But if you stop doing those things,
number 9, practice gratitude.
Oh, there you go. Right? So let's move on to that one.
It's like we were talking about this before.
We already did it.
We never actually went. We didn't go through these, but this is just how things work. So gratitude. I think you're really good at this. Maybe I could be better at this.
Well, you just need. I think people just in general who get caught up just need reminders that stop and pause and smell the roses every now and again. Like, wow, look how lucky we are for the people we get to work with. Look how lucky we are for the advisors or the firms that we are privileged to work with. So every now and again, it's really important to pause and think about, even if you're having a tough year or a tough quarter and opportunities are blowing up on you left and right. We all go through it. You lose a client or we lose an advisor or whatever it is. If you stop and smell the roses for that gratitude, we feel that more of that is going to come.
Yeah.
Have faith that if you stop and have that gratitude, pay a compliment to a coworker or call one of your clients and say, how are you doing? Gosh, I'm so glad we had the opportunity to work together. That stuff comes back to you in droves.
Well, look, the reason why when you pray, so if we
have faith,
right? But when you pray, you're not actually supposed to be praying, and you can ask God for help and support. But when you pray, you're actually praying God and to be thankful for the things that you have in your life. To be thankful for certain things, right? Thankful for your health and your family's health, and thankful for, you're alive today, or there's all sorts of things that you pray for during periods of time. The reason why you do it that way is because when you pray for the things and you thank God for the things that you have, all of a sudden you're like, I sort of feel better right now.
Right.
Because you are practicing gratitude.
Right. And how many times you put yourself in that mode and you don't know when the next thing's going to come, but then maybe an hour later you bump into a client you haven't talked to in a while, or you get a phone call, or you close a deal out of nowhere. Like, oh my gosh, how did that just happen?
Yeah, referral came in, right.
It happens when we're on vacation. I feel like we always have success. Like, I'm away from work and gosh, that advisor just moved, or we just sealed another relationship with another large firm, whatever.
So anyway, so the last one, number 10 with his, which is constantly try to work on simplifying. And I think that sometimes is the old expression, keep it simple, stupid,
Simple,
right?
stupid.
KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I think a lot of people try to make things very, very, very complicated, and that's when you end up slowing down. There's that expression, slow is fast, right? In the military, they say slow is fast. And so try to simplify things and boil down processes. So we talk about processes in the past. We did a couple recently. Whatever processes you have, you should be obsessed with trying to simplify those processes, because the fewer steps you have in a process, the faster you can move, right? The better you can service a client. If your process isn't as complex as it needs to be or should be, or it's overly complex, it's going to be hard for you to deliver a high level of service to your clients. So try to simplify things. Try to make all of your processes better. The reason why I have a tight schedule during the course of a week is because I want to simplify my life by being organized. To me, that simplifies my life.
Well, you have a plan. You have a process.
Right.
Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat.
Right. And then the other last three is really, they're not really habits, but commit to being a lifelong learner. So one of our core values is, right, being a continuous learner. You have to be learning every single day. You have to be. That's why when I start to drift from listening to podcasts or reading books, I feel like it's zapping my energy a little bit, because it's part of what fuels me. So be a lifelong learner.
Yeah, student of the game.
Be curious about
That's the
stuff.
phrase I always like to use, and we always coach and train the people that are here at Elite, and also talking to our advisors. Don't stop learning. Don't stop being excited about something that you don't know. Ask somebody, or go read a book you wouldn't normally read. Listen to a podcast that you wouldn't normally listen to. That's what fills the brain.
When it's going to come up, right?
You just
and then focus on value creation. I think that if you've been in financial services and you've run a practice for a long time and you're successful, one might argue that not everybody, but I've come across these people, they forget why they're doing what they do, right? Like if we ask them, well, what's your purpose? They don't really have an answer, right? So for us, it's to empower advisors to make the right move, not just the next move, right? That's what our purpose is. When you boil down all the stuff that we do, right, that's really what it comes down to, right? To empower advisors to make the right move, not just the next move. Because there are firms out there that just want you to move to the next firm, then they'll trade you up again and they'll move you again, right? We want to move our clients to the right firm so that they never have to move again.
Yeah, we have to get this right.
So as you're sitting, during the holidays thinking about your business, you should be thinking about why is it that you do what you do. And it shouldn't be about the money. The money is an ancillary benefit of you achieving your purpose and your mission. And so really ask yourself, what is your purpose? And then the last one is, leverage tools and systems. That is just systems, right?
Yeah, technology,
right.
processes.
One of the reasons why we started helping clients with, I'll just call it CRM database management, is because we felt like we talked to a lot of advisors and they don't have systems and processes in place to help them run their business efficiently or effectively. It's like, well, I track everything through a spreadsheet. That's just simply not good enough, especially when you start to get big and your business starts to scale. They don't have
they don't have metrics. They don't have a way to measure what actions they're taking. They have no way to prove it.
So anyway, that was a long-winded top 10 list with Dan Sullivan.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics in the financial services industry, or you just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to eliteconsultingpartners.com/podcasts.